episode is sponsored by Raise Tech, end-to-end IT solutions for your business growth.
Okay, let's get going. Probably, if someone will join, they will join. So we're continuing our discussions. This room is always videoed, so keep in mind we're filming and recording. That's why we'll also have these microphones and be passing them around. So if you want to talk, just grab a mic from someone. Yes, we will. So. Yeah, it's you can have a links on our websites. It's gonna be we're gonna post them on YouTube or in the podcast channels. So you can use the QR codes here to also follow us up and in LinkedIn as well, because we post the news there basically. So yeah, we're just don't press any buttons best way so that we don't mute ourselves accidentally. I'll be passing those along. But now we're discussing on the topic how to know what to change, what not to change. And this topic was brought by Andres. So maybe you just want to give a couple of words. What is that about you want to talk about?
How to understand what to change and what not to change, and discussion about the organizational level, mostly not about the team level, not a particular team. Why it's important to me, basically, I am in a position right now in a company with 1,500 employees, working in very diverse portfolio of the services. So we are providing broadband internet. We have 3 different TV platforms selling electricity, consumer electronics. We have shops, solar panels, security, whatsoever. And a question for me as an efficiency leader from the board is really simple. Basically, we need to make the whole thing more effective, and the whole thing to start with is the B2B. And the question today is basically, of course, we can go through the processes, we can go through the functions, we can go through the portfolio. If we are talking about the processes, it's like hundreds of them. If we are talking about the products or services, for example, in the billing, there are like tens of thousands of them. And I can share a case which I experienced a few weeks ago when the person from the business segment point of view came to me and other colleagues and said, "Hey, we know about the transformation on the B2C segment, and it really works. We reduce number of clicks, we improve the automation, stuff like that. We want you to go and automate, and we can start with the broadband internet." And when we ask, well, sounds cool, but how many orders like do you have per month? And she said, well, the number was like hundreds or so, which means there will be no benefit of automating that, or benefit will be after like 30 years. And then she said, oh, but there is another case when there is a guy sitting with the Excel, and if our corporate client wants to update his landline phone numbers, he needs to do it in Excel. And when we asked, yes, of course, but this business line currently from profit point of view looks like this, because it's like landline phones, right? Who's using that? So it's dying, and maybe instead of thinking what to automate, we need to think how to actually close this business line. And so my question here today for you is, from your experience, how you could see basically to what paying attention and how to do that, because there are cool initiatives, but those initiatives maybe doesn't really make sense. So yeah, any ideas? How do you understand in your organization what's worth to invest the time and money, and where's actually not?
Yeah, but isn't the already kind of answered? Because you mentioned it was pain and no gain. So isn't this again just by checking pains versus gains things, and not blindly try to fix even the things which we need to fix, but then if we will not calculate the gain, then the question, do we really need to fix it? It will broke even more, or it will be a pain, but we can live with it. So that's one approach, but I think that will be even more suggestions. So maybe someone.
In our organization, in a business part of the organization, we have a group of people, like a steering committee, who have a list of priorities for the whole organization. What are we working on, and what are priorities of those developments? And so they like on a directors level of groups and the top management, they have they're aligning about what we are working on and what we are not, and they have a list of from top to down. So what is the priority for the whole organization? So maybe that would be the answer.
But then I have counter question. But they still not blindly doing this. They still gathering the data according to which they will prioritizing the things.
Could you say it again? So
Yeah, they're not blindly prioritizing. They still have data according to which they're doing these decisions. They are decision making, but they still need data to do these decisions.
That's an open discussion. If it's like an open discussions, not like somehow one group of one person or one department takes a decision, then everything will be transparent and visible. Like it would be like a shared opinions of should we do it or not should we do it. Maybe, I don't know. No, I'm not part of that group.
I got one. For me, it comes down to have a prioritized list of backlog items company-wide, right? If you have that as a result, then you know exactly you need to cope with the first priority, the biggest risk in the system, and all the forces go into that one first. If there are some remaining forces, you take the second one, and so forth. I think that's the same. And the question then boils down to how do we prioritize? And what are the prioritization parameters? And there are basically two. The one above the line and the one below the line. So what do we invest? That's below the line. And what do we gain as value? That's above the line. So it comes down to basically identifying what is the value we gain if we change something. And that question often is not clear in organizations. And I think clarity about what's the value, ideally directly connected to customer value, not some arbitrary product management idea or something else. Really, the realer the value is, the better that a value above the line will be. And you have the return on investment like that, which you can use for the prioritization. So to boil it down, I think the investment is quite clear. That's the time we want to invest. That's the amount of people we want to invest. So that's below the line. But if you have the quotient, the thing above the line, the value, what do we gain? That's the big question mark for most companies. And more clarity about that helps to identify that priority more easily. That's what I think.
And if I may ask, where would you advise to start to get to this backlog list? Because currently there is like one item B2B. How to start via processes, business lines? How do you see it?
Yeah, if it's subdivided into different departments, it gets seducing to optimize one of the silos, right? If you want to really optimize the whole business, then you are seduced to optimize that silo compared to another business, which is also in the market. So maybe it's an ecosystem of businesses which we need to look at. And maybe that all starts with a vision. So what exactly do you want to have at the end? That's the vision, right? And without that vision, you don't have a measure towards which direction you want to go. And once you have the vision, simple, understandable, and realistic, maybe 100 years or 1,000 years vision, I don't care. 10 years would be enough sometimes, right? Or 1 year. That helps to make the value clear. The value crystallizes along the vision, and then you know, oh, it pays into this, or it doesn't pay into this. That's one aspect of it. I think it's not the whole.
I agree with the latter they're saying about the vision. I would more move towards having clear goals for upcoming period of time, whether it's a year, a quarter, or whatever rhythm you're operating. Because I personally hate those huge backlogs and that someone is prioritizing them. I don't know, especially if it's a managerial role. If it would take a big company who's making decisions based on plain numbers without having their feet on the ground and understanding the real consequences, because not everything can be translated into numbers. And I agree, data is essential, but sometimes we miss some important parts of it, right? So that's where, in my point of view, first of all, we need to have very clear goals for those different, segments, areas, departments, whatever you're calling it, right? Whether it's a B2B, B2C, and where they need to, what kind of products, what they need to achieve in the upcoming period of time, let's say next year. Do they need to, optimize that? Do they need to conquer new markets? Do they need maybe to decrease the portfolio of services, which is, clearly would be, the case that you just mentioned, that something maybe needs to be let go, right? And then they can know what to prioritize and what to choose to do actually with the need they need to achieve. Then they can argue that in order for me to achieve that, if I have those goals, I need maybe this and that. And then when we come down to the team level, naturally the backlogs appear and stuff and this and that. But I would rather prioritize on the sort of the goals or whatever technique you use to establish them.
Exactly, fully with you. I think the goals are part of the definition of the work items. They should be, otherwise you don't know what the work item is for. And the goal should be defined in outcome, in value.
Absolutely.
And then you have it. Basically, we call that a feature. A feature, for instance, can have a business case, and the business case defines the output, and then you know what the goal is. And then you can also prioritize it. Without that value you hope it will have, you cannot prioritize it.
The only trap is that it's not to choose. I mean, not the. That's what I'm saying. The upper management, they need to choose between the goals and not the work items, as you're saying, because the work items need to be determined by the teams. They just need to know what they need to achieve, and then they should do the best thing that needs to be done in order to achieve it, with given constraints they have, of course, and everything. So that's why I'm sort of against upper management prioritizing work items. I would say they need to establish goals, and the teams need to do what needs to be done in order to achieve those goals, right? It could be, maybe we think this is the best thing to do at this point of time, right? Maybe, to cut costs or whatever, I need to optimize this and the system. But in reality, maybe, I would rather spend this IT budget on growing my business somewhere and just, find savings somewhere else, right? Or something like that. It's just not to like blindly look at the goal from the perspective, I need to spend this money for this, specific thing. I would rather think how to best spend the money to achieve my goals. So this is the trap sometimes that you can fall into, that someone's prioritizing higher level items, and then someone needs to sort of execute on them, which at some point might not make sense even. So
just to add on what colleagues mentioned, I completely agree that that helps out. But getting back to the main question that I'm reading, that's in the board: how to know what to change, what not to. And from my perspective and experience, it might be easy to set goals. Of course, we need to understand where we need to go, what's our vision. But the point is, how do we know what to change, what not to? And is it just about creativity? The first foundational thing that I believe really helps a lot, even setting these goals or understanding the direction, is having the foundational measures. How do we know how our organization or whatever the unit we have is doing right now? So even these goals are coming up from metrics. If we know that we are, not getting better on the specific fields and areas, and we want significantly to improve something, and that's the point where, whatever OKRs, V2MOMs, or SMART goals comes into the game. We need to make a huge change difference, and that's what we want to change. So if we want to understand what we want to change, we need to establish some kind of foundational measures, what's important, what might be important for organization. Once tracking them through for some time, some period of time, then we see, yeah, that's an area that we really are bad at and we want to improve. That's the area we need to focus on. And be it with goals, be it with prioritization, yeah, sometimes one or other might work better or not. But I'm just want to get one step back. How to know what to change, as that's the question. Yeah.
I think it's a good time to also like build what you said. When I'm wondering about and thinking about the change, one of the idea comes to my mind, which is called this paradoxical theory of change. It comes from Gestalt, and one of the surprising principles: before you change, you need to accept who you are. And before you change organization need to see how it is currently. So how they are as an organization. So when we're hearing about elements of prioritization, goals, vision, teams, all these elements of the huge organism, like organization, I'm wondering like how they are right now, and what is the force that driving to that change? Because definitely answering on the question what to not change, it's not to change something which is not necessary, or maybe like bringing the different direction, and not establish who we are as an organization. Because if we don't have a vision, if we don't have our identity, understanding what we currently as an organization, we can try to initiate a lot of initiatives like changes, which can take different results. And this is the point, which is like bringing back to the topic, because there's multiple techniques how to do it and who should do it. And it's like interesting to share this experience as well.
Thanks for sharing. Maybe I can elaborate a bit more on that. So I think I'm more on the same page with Gražvydas here, because to prioritize something, it means you need an options to select from, right? And in my particular case, if we are talking about the whole B2B and we have some ideas what we want to achieve, it means that we need to do some pretty serious amount of analysis to get to those, let's call them work items, initiatives, features, epics, whatever we call them, to somehow prioritize and then select. From my point of view, this approach might be a bit too slow and too asking too much to invest. I would like to proceed with a lightweight iterative approach where we are offering like just say yes or no, and we're starting to doing this while in parallel analyzing something in something different, right? So if I might paraphrase this question right now on how to know what to change or not to change, I would ask where to start, because we have some kind of experience right now where this topic was not the priority, but still after 5 or 6 months of analysis, the result is only one process analyzed by like 70% analyzed from like tens or hundreds of processes, and they deep dive quite in a lot of details for that process, and there is no big picture still end to end about what's happening on B2B, and there's why I would like to basically zoom out a bit and see it from a bird's perspective. Maybe we just need to kill some services. Maybe we just need to completely rethink how we are doing this B2B, right? And do you have any experience, like where to start, how to start doing this to get to maybe to the very first option, just to go dive in and say, okay, we might not get any benefits, but we are together on this, and let's see how it works. Where would you start in this situation when your work item is the B2B for such company?
Let's say sorry, you first.
Thank you. The thing is, there are so many methods about that issue, like lean startup. would be usual stuff to do if you have no experience but want to find out I'm on the right track with such a few dollars in the end. So the possibilities and the methods are there. The issue there, we're a little confused also with the discussion. We are talking about so many layers in the organization right now in the same point. So when you break it down from the top to the down, it's about the vision. Then you have the mission statements. Then you have the portfolio management for the initiatives. And there you are. And then you work with the initiatives with a lean startup approach to figure out, is it worth doing it? And that, so the methods and how to combine them, that's an old thing to do somehow. The funny issue is that no one is doing that in that way. So I think all of us know about the single methods, but combine them, that's an issue I never saw in a real good way a company is doing. So, but from theory perspective, for me it's there. To make it short, I don't know how you see that.
I just had some reflection on what Andres and Simas was talking about. Simas was talking about metrics, and you're talking about doing changes and something like what Elon Musk does with Twitter. He checks on a daily reaction on the auditory, does it work or not, people like it or not. So if you will have, let's say, some metrics, again, and then you will, yes, you can do changes, and without deep analysis, which you say that it takes long, then you can decide, does it work or not? Do you have improvement or not? And then roll back if not. That's what I was thinking about.
There's a funny point about the matrix, what to measure and why, and that's something we didn't discuss right now, and it depends on what you want to find out. So if you do a lean startup, for example, you would measure, is there some kind of feedback? If you do some other approach, like a product development approach with Scrum, it's more about, is it a real usage for my product, not only the interest in an idea. And that's the issue in the end. What do you measure depending on the methods and the way you approach the market? And I think there's something, there might be the solution, or at least the first direction where to look at.
Yeah, to design those metrics, you still need to make some analysis. Design to have correct metrics, but it's really important for a business. Yeah,
it depends on the method. That's my point, and the approach you go to the market.
I think that where we need to start is, of course, we need to know where we want to go. That's why I'm, always saying goals or vision or something. That's the starting point still that you need to establish, because what change, what not to change, all answers could be correct if I don't know where I want to get. So which road I should choose if I don't know where I want to end up going, right? I need to know that in the first sight, and then I could at least know which kind of options I'm choosing from. So that's the very first step, and I very much agree that it somehow needs to be measured, right? That's why I personally like OKRs, because it basically establishes a goal, and then it forces you to think of how I will measure if I'm successful at the specific goal, right? So that could be something, but generally any kind of method you choose, I believe where to start is to know where we want to go, what we want to, at the end of the day, what we want to conquer, what we want to achieve, what is the next big thing in our sort of a journey. Are we, do we want to increase the number of users, or we want to be more profitable, or we want to scale down, scale up, costs, save costs, whatever. There could be billion of reasons why what at current moment in time, given the market conditions and everything, you want to choose from. So just by knowing where you want to go, that's the first step, and then you go to figure out how I will measure that, and then what I will do in order to achieve those things, and then whether I experiment with lean startup or do whatever. That's sort of the house, right? So
yeah, if I may add one counter argue, well, I do agree that it's really important to understand where do we want to go. But thinking a bit as well, one step back, how will you find where you want to go? Either you'll be creative. If you are board member of the company, you might be creative. I want to go there. Or as well, you be creative, and be creative by filtering out which are the initial measures that you'll want to capture. By having this measure, once again, it will tell you that I want to increase that one. You need to be creative somewhere. Probably creativity, I think, is the one step back even, because defining and deciding where you want to go, you need to start somewhere. I mean, you cannot just simply say, I want to go there. What do you guys think?
And that's a real important thing. You can exactly say that. Maybe some of you know the blue ocean, red ocean thing. Red ocean, you have to pull away components, and the blue ocean is there is no one. And that's exactly what you're talking about in the opposite. Someone explained it to me like you have a fisherman, a route, and putting on the street, and you say, there will be water, and there will be fish one day, because I'm an entrepreneur. And I know that, and I want that it will happen. And that really depends on how your management or how your CEO thinks. Is he more about analyzing what's in the market and tries to get a market share? And that's his approach, or be trying to find a completely new field of business in the end. And that also depends. That's also the thing with the portfolio management in the end. Are you pushing into the blue ocean, or are you pushing into the red ocean? And that's totally different from the approach perspective.
Yeah, thanks. That's actually my next step, which is already scheduled in a calendar with the board and different kind of stakeholders. And basically, what we want to achieve is that I believe was a bit misleaded that partially we started, not we, but we as a company started on analyzing and generating these like low-level paints and work items without actually common shared understanding where we want to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Comment on yes, and the common understanding when we want to go is actually strategy. So if you have a strategy, this is the answer where you want to go, at least in the first steps, or where you want to go, which ocean you want to swim, etc. So work on that. And my advice from the practice observing, working on a strategy for the large organizations as a humble advisor, it can take a lot of time. So try to limit this time with the burn-up element. And second element is, what's your business model? Do you understand how your business is operating? What is the business? What is your advantage, disadvantages, elements of your business model, how you make money? And if the strategy help you growing that business or not. Like two answers for the managers, but limiting the time for them, please. Sharing understanding is something that take time.
Okay. I don't know if Andres, you got your answers, but our time is just coming to an end. I'm not sure if anyone wants to leave for other sessions, and we have another topic. Yeah.
Participation. I found actually answers, and answers were in front of me, and I think together with strategy, what I actually heard from the board members, which is a bit of a discussion, what kind of the trade-offs we are willing to take, because there will be a cost to take, and there is also not common shared understanding on what trade-offs are okay to take and which are not. So yeah, that will be a addition to my agenda next week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for a nice topic.